Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the world of Evolution Racing Academy. It's absolutely great to have you guys here for the Sunday Championship, and it is going to be wild. This time we're visiting the beautiful circuit of Americas, and out in Texas, everything is bigger in Texas. Well, my name is Stephen Koenig. Glad to have you guys here. It's going to be a great one. We're in for an absolute treat, and the drivers are going to be heading out for qualifying as we speak, getting ready to rock and roll. And with everyone looking to put in the best times and move their best foot forward here at Circuit of Americas, let's take a look at our championship as it stands, because there's a lot to talk about and lots of fun to unpack here. So let's go through it. So for our diamond status drivers, that is anyone with the white board, like the example of Peterson, Christoph Peterson, current leader of the diamonds. He's on 110 points. Mahath Musa is on 94 points. The third place is Darius with 80 points. Sean Skitter running in fourth, followed by Michael Castro, Chris Wall, Thomas Morton, Paul Fenter in 8th, 9th is Chris Wiggins, followed by Craig Hewlett, Matthew Gamble, Stephen Milano James, and Teddy Blonder in 13th. Moving on to our platinums, those are the silver borders that you see around the numbers, and that is being led by Glenn Smith. Martin Spritzer running in second place on 75 points to Glenn Smith's 93 points. Nick Lawrence on 71 points, so not too far back to take that second place. Lucas Collop running on 66 points, Camille Hassan on 63 points, along with Ernest Lumbriggs, Dave Young, Christoph Rolotsky, Christian Fingler, David Broski, and we have got Christian Goth, Sebastian Robertson, Simon Cussett, Ava Bravo, Terence Ferreira, and Daniel Christo. Then moving on to our golds, that is all our red borders, and Ice Guy leading out that pack with Lewis Knight, David Roth, Flo Scub, Nicholas Porras, Skirt Reynolds, Patrick Bars, Frederick Colgero, Samuel Jolin, and Blake Moore, followed by Liam Smith. Keep an eye on Ice Sky and Lewis Knight as they are tied in points, both running 83 points, with David Roth running on 81 points. Closest fight between them. David Roth has an opportunity here to go after the top spot as we get ready to rock, roll, and rumble here at ERA, and it is in for a delightful treat. So, qualifying as it stands, drivers are to get ready and put their fastest times in and get themselves sorted. Up into turn one. Hard on the anchors just to try and bring it through. Unfortunately, you can quite easily miss that turn one hairpin as they make their way down to turn two. Carrying a lot of momentum. Gets a bit tricky through the S's as they snake their way around. Track limits is going to be a factor around here, and tires are going to take a beating. It is nighttime as well, so your brake markers you usually go searching for, unfortunately, not easily as visible. And tire degradation is going to be absolutely key, as we do see Thomas Hagen going and utilizing every bit of the road possible to try and get any bit of drive as they hunt their way down. Short down the straight, and it's going to be hard braking zone into a hairpin. Great for overtaking. Don't want to be too much to the inside on the left-hand side, otherwise you're going to have a terrible exit, and you don't want to be too far to the right, otherwise you will be compromised all the way through. Keeping onwards to the right-hand side as you charge your way down the straight. Great for slipstreaming as you keep on driving in towards the hairpin. 250 k's an hour. Brake as hard as you can into about 80 kilometers an hour. Back onto the throttle as hard as you can. Quick to the left and quick turn to the right. Carry the momentum through. Double apex you got to watch out for as you launch your way through. Gets a little bit tricky through this complex of double left-handers. Unfortunately, understeer will be the bane of everyone's existence, especially with the colder tires in the night sky. Lovely part of the circuit, long right-hander that you feather the throttle through before standing on the gas all the way as you make your way towards the back end of the circuit. Quick dab of the brakes, down the gears. Left-hander straight on as you head towards the final corner. Pit lane is on the left-hand side. Hard on the anchors. Bring it down to second. Turn it in and back on the power as early as you can as you charge your way back up the hill to complete your lap here at Circuit of America. So, taking a look at our drivers so far. Krzysztof Rolotsky putting in the fast lap time, a 207.3. That gets beaten up by Darius running a 206.4. Flo Scub with a 206.775 as he makes his way through. Rolotsky with a 207.3. And Ernest Lundbriggs coming in with a 206.312 as they charge their way up through the order. Always great to see drivers going and pushing themselves that little bit more, trying to see where everything's going to work out in their favor. Stephen Milano James looking to capitalize big here today. Flo Scub, Thomas Morton also on the charge, utilizing the Ford Mustang. A lot have gone and said the Ford Mustang's going to have the legs down the track, especially a long straight where it can power through and use every bit of grunt it's got in that V8. But understeer is always a concern. Rolotsky in the Lamborghini Huracan on to try to make a better lap. He is in 8th, followed by Chris Wall, Federico Calgero, Christian Fingler is out in 11th position. 12th, Scott Reynolds, Neil Greening, Lewis Knight down into 14th, followed by Dave Young, Richard Oakes in the rusted Porsche. He's going and having a bit of fun in the Rust Bucket Racing. And Finn Van Holland is rounding out all that have put a time in. Unfortunately, from 19th down to 31st, drivers are battling to get times in. That's Thomas Hagen, Michael Castro, Nicholas Porras, David Scruton, Mickey Taylor, David Roth, Camille Sun, Nicola Lawrence, Simon Kussat, Sean Skitter, Damian Moroni, and David Young still waiting to get out of pits. So the drivers are going to have to really think crucially on this. You do want to start up higher in the order, especially getting into turn 1. You don't want to be caught up in the concertina. You want to try and have a clear run as you work through the snakes here at Circuit of America. It is going to be a very, very long race for these drivers as they go around this incredibly long circuit that is going to require a lot of concentration, not only because of the night sky and all the reflections that come through it, but also making sure you get every bit of apex, because as you go a little bit too over, track limits will come down like a ton of bricks on top of your head. So the drivers are going to have to bear that in mind. Otherwise, they will be landing up with drive-through penalties that can compromise their race severely, costing them up to roughly a minute if they get it all wrong traveling through pit lane. So not ideal circumstances for those that want to try and score big here tonight for the ERA Sunday Championship. So Ernest Lundbriggs still leading out the charge, followed by Stephen Milano James up into second. Darius running in third, trying to improve with his Audi R8 Evo GT3. And Mahath Musa in that BMW M4 going to round the final corner, late on the anchors. Project Vapor BMW is absolutely looking crisp as he gets onto the power and trying to get that straight 6 to go and make his way through the inline 6 motor with its monstrous turbo, able to put down a lot of power. He's up into third place. He needs to score big here tonight if he wants to move forward in the championship. Darius hoping that he can go and usurp some of those points as he runs in 4th place. And where is Peterson, though? That is the question, as he needs to be right at the top of the field, and at the moment he is behind his championship rivals. So Peterson, unfortunately with little Honda, missed out the corner and into the wall. Flo Scub, though, is going to continue his charge. He's currently leading out the Platinums, lying in 6th place with Christian Fingler, the closest to him, trying to get a little bit more pace. He's running in 11th as it stands. So Christian Fingler actually dropping down to 12th and break away. So Davis Crouton going and moving his way up into 1st. Flo Scub into 2nd of class. Christian Fingler 3rd of class. Then down in 13th, Neil Greening and Nicholas Porras. We've seen these two go to absolute war with one another time and time again, with Lewis Knight also being part of that fight. So keep an eye out on 3 as they're now setting all the same times as one another. Richard Oakes also joining into the fray there to try and help battle out for the gold championship here in ERA. Ernest Lundbriggs coming around in the 488 Evo Ferrari, as he will be giving it everything he's got. The older of the Ferraris compared to the 296 that we do have out on circuit. Ernest Lundbriggs comes across the line though, 205.6 dead. Stephen Maloney James trying to copy that with a 205.727. Davis Grudon with a 205.8 as he made his way through. So Matthias Musa down into 4th place. Needs to get into those 205s to continue the fight, as he's going to go late onto the anchors, try and throw the car in, make his way past the pit lane, absolutely gunning it, trying to straighten out the corner as much as possible. He is 0.3 up. Will it be enough though? That 205.910 could not get him into 3rd place, but he has got some opportunity to still make it work here tonight. And Darius running in 5th place. First of those that are running the 206 with Christoph Peterson, Camille Son doing exactly that. So Darius trying to utilize a little bit of slipstream as he piles on the pressure and really trying to see where he can make up a bit of ground. Late through the corners, late braking, trying to keep into the slipstream as he gets pulled along by one of our BMWs. And he's hoping that's going to be able to help him out in the order here. Unfortunately, late brakes, goes around, misses his first apex, misses the second one as well. So that's not going to help out his time. He's going to have to really try and pick up the pace. Matthias Musa currently 0.4 up on his lap time. And unfortunately, that may all be lost if he loses any bit behind the back markers. Well, it looks like he hasn't lost too much time there. One of our kind Samaritans moving out of the way and saying, look, I'm not going to get too involved with your little fight. I'm going to continue mine, and we will get going on the way through. So great to see. And I think that has to be as one of the Hondas, and that must be Castro that moved out of the way. And he's in his own little fight to move forward. So Matthias Musa is going to be quite thankful for Castro to just mind out the way after going and lending a little bit of a hand. No, it wasn't Mike Castro that was moving that. Would that be... No, that can't be Christoph Peterson. No, that's really not. So we'll try and track down who that Honda actually belongs to. Because obviously quite a helpful way to just move out and just say, look, don't want to get too involved. Going to let you go. Matthias Musa is going to be thankful for that one, as he's 0.7 up over everyone at the moment. Personal best going to come through. Late on the brakes, on the power as early as he can. Runs out a bit wide. Guns it all the way through. Now towards the start-finish line. Puts himself into 1st place with a 205.322. Ahead of Ernest Lundbriggs. Stephen Milano James will be running in 3rd as it stands. And all the drivers now needing to really turn up the wick if they want to be involved in these battles. They want to stand on top of the Giants. Well, Matthias Musa is the one to go for. Ernest Lundbriggs is going to go around the final and try and make his way through. So Ernest Lundbriggs, knowing he's got 2 minutes and 40 seconds to make it work, he needs to get across the line. This is either going to be the flying lap, or he's going to have to give it one more shot. David Scruton, on the other hand, in 4th place, quite a big smile on his face, leading out the Platinums. Going to go late on the anchors for the Team Marlboro car as he gets back onto the power. Chases down a 205.8. Well, he gets into 2nd with a 205.465. Beautifully done, getting ahead of Ernest Lundbriggs, who's now in 3rd place. Not up on his time. Stephen Milano James, not up on his time. Michael Castro into the pits. He's calling it quits. Thomas Morton currently 0.1 up. Flo Scubb currently 0.4 up on his personal best as he tries to make his way around and really get that power down and move into the top 10. So Flo Scubb's going to try and be the fast and the feathers right now. Late on the brakes, turns in. Sharp left-hander onto the power. The Aston Martin can he get into the top 10. Comes across the line, unfortunately, with a 206.685. Then misses out. Couldn't be his personal best of 206.6. As he's going to have to just possibly get one more shot on the way through. Matthias Musa trying to capitalize on any advantages possible here to try and get a little bit of time. Peterson currently on the fastest wicket, 0.2 up through the entire field. He needs to just try and dial it in a little bit more. Everyone going to be crying out to the Honda NSX of Christoph Peterson. Our defending champion will have to do it all over again with his closest title contention running in 1st place. Really opening up the charge, being a part of it. It is going to be a monumental run for them if they can get this right. So Peterson needs to keep up the momentum. He needs to be at 205.3. Thomas Morton currently 0.4 up on his quickest lap time with Darius chasing down. Fortunately, Darius way since gone. Outbraked himself and landed up in the weeds. Neil Greening 0.3 up on his personal best as he tries to also get any bit of momentum. Very difficult around this circuit, but Neil Greening currently in that top 10, fastest of the gold, and this is what he needs for the championship, to keep that little bit of pace, to keep pushing himself that little bit more. Scott Reynolds running in 10th position, second in the Platinums as he goes on. But Christoph Peterson is not holding back anymore. 0.2 up on his personal best, 0.3 up. He's close to going and just getting against Mahayath Musa. He needs to find that little bit of pace. Late onto the brakes, gets onto the power early, really slides it out. Can he defend it? Can he make it work? Comes across the line, puts himself into second place at 205.457. Well, Mahayath Musa, 205.322. As we do see, Flo Scub is going to be coming around. He's got Neil Greening on in the back. And Neil Greening trying to utilize the toe. Couldn't quite get that going. So Flo Scub comes across the line, sits into 12th place as they come through. Rolotsky going to fight it out and doing everything they can to go and really duke it out. 0.6 of a lap, 0.6 up on his personal best. He's trying to push a little bit harder, running in 17th position, trying to get within that top 10. Possibility of that happening is very high. He ran at 206.8. He's now 0.6 up. That will get him into the low 206s if he can carry the momentum through. He needs to keep up this going up 0.6 as he makes his way through. The Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2 will get onto the power, comes across the line and puts himself just into the top 10. Federico Calgero will come across the line, finishing up in 18th for the qualifying. And last but not least, Ike Sky out there in the Bentley. The critical Alan Roll is going to really go and charge his way through. 0.6 of a lap. On his personal best, 0.7. This is going to be a hard push once get within that top 20. Considering he's fighting it out for the championship, he needs to really try and work this Bentley into his favor. Runs out a little bit wide, goes flat on the throttle, 0.4, 0.2, and gets across the line. So, a couple of cars, unfortunately, not able to get into that top 20. And we will be getting ready with some more of the racing. So, it's going to be a great stuff here at COTA. Beautiful, beautiful circuit, ladies and gentlemen. And it is a bit chilly out there. 21 degrees air temperature, 21 degrees track temperature. No wind actually coming and blowing against the car. So it's just very solid in terms of what you need to do. But a little bit overcast in the process. So nighttime, overcast, cold conditions means drivers are going to have to really think about what they're going to do, as we see some beautiful shots of COTA lying in the daylight in Texas. Stunning, absolutely stunning circuit that is the home to multiple endurance races in the likes of America, home to the Formula One Grand Prix of America. As led to some of the most controversial moments being that turn one in terms of passes. How are drivers going to work around that? Well, here in ERA, we're going to test them to the absolute limit, seeing who's going to be able to push themselves that little bit more, who's going to be able to work their way towards the sharp end of the field, and how well is this going to work out for a lot of our drivers. I know many are starting to scratch their heads and guess, especially with the championship becoming so close to the end here at ERA, and where the drivers are going to have to really think about the long-term strategies. As the moment we're in round 5, there's only 7 rounds in the championship. Next would be Suzuka, followed by a very, very closed track of Brands Hatch, one of my personal favorites going out there. Circuit of America, a little bit more tricky. I can say not quite my favorite circuit to go and deal with, but it has definitely posed as one of the circuits that if you can get yourself sorted out, you know the track, well, it's worth going and taking a look. This is going to be a very interesting time for our drivers to work their way through. Now, one thing here that we do at ERA that's a little bit different to your usual running orders. We actually have a success penalty system. Now, you would hear about a success ballast. where they add weight into a vehicle to try and slow the vehicles down, and that keeps closer racing. Well, adding weight and keep adding weight lands up with a more of a negative effect to even set up work. Now, here at ERA, we want people to learn how to set up a car correctly with different fuel loads, with the likes of your different tire loads. So adding weight doesn't help that out, especially considering the cars have been BOP already in terms of engine and power management systems. So you don't want to go and change all that by adding more bits of lead, which goes and affects a normal BOP. So here at ERA, we've worked out a system of adding time penalties to those that have done successful. So if you came first in your class for the last race, you get 15 seconds. If you came second, you get 10 seconds. If you came third, you get 5 seconds. That's how it all starts adding up. And that's per class to bring the classes together. Now, the challenge for our drivers, as we take a look to the beautiful shots, is going to be trying to move their way forward in the running pack. So going to bring up some audio for the race and get ready to go, as Tim gives us a bit of insight of the engines getting ready to roar alive. So Mahiath Musa going with 10 seconds on the time, as he did come in second place in his class, with second place on the grid. Christoph Peterson's got 15 seconds to deal with as it stands. Then we've got David Scruton running in third place. He came first in the last race, 15 seconds added to his time. These time penalties are served during their pit stop. They have one mandatory pit stop that they need to do. They'll serve these time penalties. So for anyone that's got 5, 10, 15 seconds, you need to add that extra bit of time ahead of your competitors while you're doing it. So are you going to go and short fuel the tank? Are you going to go for the long run? How deep into the race are you going to go to do your pit stops? Are you going to change tires? All these factors start rolling in and start pushing our drivers to the absolute limit. So other drivers that are getting a few ones is Neil Greening, Flo Scubb, Christian Fingler, Nicholas Boris, and Federico Calgero getting some points. But you would see Camille Hassan actually getting a drive-through penalty. Now, that will leave you questioning, why on earth a drive-through penalty? Well, easy one to explain with this is, unfortunately, our stewards looked at a problem. And our stewards do a fantastic job. We absolutely love them in pieces. It's one of the unsung heroes that everyone wants to have, but no one wants to be. We will be just going and acknowledging them now. Our stewards doing lots of hard work, looks into different incidents, and unfortunately Camilleson has got incidents against him, so he's needing to serve a drive-through penalty. That means it's an extra pit stop needed for him. Instead of going in just once and having a bit of time, it's now going to be going and pushing a little bit more through the process. So, drivers at the ready, cars at the ready, and timer ticking down for the Circuit of Americas as they roar to life, getting ready to get ready to run. Mahiath Musa still up on the jacks as they fire up. Christoph Peterson very quick to get the car sorted out. And as they come lights ablaze, you're not allowed to race at night. You got 3 laps to turn your lights on. If you don't have it on, you will be disqualified, and that's what a lot of our drivers have got to remember, especially on a well-lit circuit like Circuit of America. You can see quite a bit, and you don't want to go and push yourself into a compromising situation. So, drivers starting to move off the grid, and biggity booty, let's go racing! As well, we're out in Texas, so it's, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, drivers, start your engines! And then you roll on the ground. There was a meme about that. One person went absolutely ham about it. But yes, the whole thing of David Roth going and pointing out from his car is an old saying that was brought up by a famous old commentator in NASCAR, carried over to many movies and series after that. Let's see if I can truly embrace what he did there. So, forgive me, David Roth, if I get this wrong, but let me give it a try. Biggity biggity booty, let's go racing, ladies and gentlemen, right here at the beautiful COTA in Texas. Welcome to the Circuit of Americas. It's going to be a great one. We've got amazing drivers that are going to be launching their way all the way to the top. Mike Musa leading out the charge with Christoph Peterson in second place. And there's no V8s towards the front, which is a bit sad. Except, no, there actually is one. That's Ernest Lundbriggs, who has got the 488 Evo. So, let's go down to who is starting where. And hopefully, I did that one right. And, whew, that took a lot out of me, I won't lie. So, let's take a look for ERA Sunday Championship here at COTA. And for round 5, Myers Musa leading out the charge, Christoph Peterson in second, David Scrudon in third, Ernest Lundbriggs, followed by Stephen Milano, James, Thomas Morton, along with Michael Castro, Camille Hassan, Chris Wall in 9th, and Christoph Rolotsky in 10th. Darius running in 11th, followed by Neil Greetings, Kurt Reynolds, Flo Scup, Sean Skitter, Nicholas Porras, Christian Fingler, 18th is Federico Calgero, Nico Lawrence, Flynn Van Allen, Lewis Knight in 21st, 22nd is Dave Young, Richard Oakes, Hannes Voss, David Young, and along with Simon Kussert in 26th, Ike Sky, Thomas Hagen, David Roth, Nicky Taylor, and Damian Maroney starting from pit lane. So he's not going to be enjoying that one and missing out the entire qualifying. That means his tire is going to be absolutely frigid as he comes out towards turn 1 out on the apex, and it's going to be slow going for him at the moment. Drivers trying to get themselves ready, but our championship contenders of our diamond class is so far reversed. Myers Musa in first, he's running second in the championship, and Christoph Peterson running first in the championship is now in second. David Scruton though, absolutely amazing. Platinum driver going and fighting it out with all our diamonds. Down in 10th place is the position that he's got to worry about, and that is Rolotsky. Been getting better and better and better. One of our top runners, and honestly going and increasing from the likes of bronze to gold all the way now into the likes of platinum. Has really been on a great charge, learning, improving, and getting absolutely work done. Neil Greening running in 12th, and I'm glad I've got the approval of likes of Mr. Roth going and saying, you got that one right. I appreciate that. At least I can do it. At least I can do it, but not quite the same as the others. Same as, you know, the good old boxing, as everyone goes and enjoys. As a bit of a short formation lap goes round. Final corner, lights on as we get ready to go here at COTA for round 5 of the ERA Sunday Championship. And now let's do it correctly. Lights on, and come on, anytime. It would be appreciated. This is suspenseful. Biggity boogity boogity, let's go racing as they charge off. Myers Musa trying to get the jump on early. Christoph Peterson around the outside is going to try and sweep across the nose. Can he get it to work? A little bit of Max Verstappen moves, unfortunately didn't quite work out. Myers Musa gets the hold shot. Ernest Lundbriggs under a bit of pressure from David Scrudon, and Stephen Milano James around the outside gets it booked in beautifully. Thomas Morton gets his way past the likes of Camille's son, Chris Wall, trying to carry on a bit of momentum. Sean Skitter a little bit further back, along with Flo Scup. Darius a little bit further down. Christian Fingler dealing with Darius as they fight their way through. Flynn Van Holland also in a bit of a run. Looks like only slight nudges on a few cars. Nothing too devastating for any of the drivers as they keep powering on at the moment. But it is Linus Stern running from 1st to 9th, except for Flo Scup in 10th position. He's going to be chasing down the likes of Sean Skitter, who wants to rely on his teammate Chris Wall to try and pull him through as Camille's son late on the anchors. That Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo is going to be battling out with the likes of Chris Wall in the Aston Martin AMR V8. The 2019 chassis is now going to really put the pressure onto the more modern 2020 spec AMG as they go late onto the anchors, trying to get it to work. Unfortunately, not quite going to be there. Ernest Lundbriggs dropping down the order as Stephen Milano James gets on by, and he is actually using the Ferrari 296, the one that went and replaced this very, very beautiful 488 as they make their way through. Well, David Scrudon now is a part of the Platinum. He wants to show what he can do, going and battling it out with the BMW M4 GT3, chasing down the likes of Ernest Lundbriggs. Now, Ernest has done a fantastic job from last season to really improve in the Rusty's colours, now having to do everything he can to fight it out against them screwed on. But I do get a bit of yellow flags kicking up, unfortunately, and that's for the 727 car of David Roth. What on earth happened to David Roth? It looked like it was a bit of a concertina effect. Nicholas Porras was around, and Thomas Hagen in the BMW running a little bit further up ahead. So it is going to be late breaks for the likes of our drivers. Huge concertina effect. Oh! That is not ideal. Richard Oakes in the Porsche. It was pointing in the wrong way. The rust bucket, unfortunately, looks like got a bit of a hole in the bucket. Dear Liza, you've got to really add on to it. Scott Reynolds going and chasing down with Lewis Knight onto the back of him. The Godzilla of the GT3 world, the Nissan GTR, going and running their way through. Also 2019 creation that has really gone and stuck its way into the fight. Twin turbocharged motor is going to be chasing down and is really putting on the power. They're feeling Finn van Holland in the Porsche 992 GT3R as they try and get any bit of momentum, and got some beautiful liveries of the Windrush Racing going and shining a little bit in the daylight. It's absolutely crisp. In the nighttime sky, you can just see that little bit of gold. Late breaks for Darius, trying to get onto the back of Christian Fingler, who sees Flo Scub just ahead of him, gets a little bit out of shape though, kills off his drive, and will be worrying about it on the way through. So difficult times there as we drop down to 24th and 25th. That is Hanzo Voss, who was the very nice little Honda that moved out of the way. The Husky Racing Team 1 onto the back of Mickey Taylor. And Mickey Taylor, the Scuderia Ferrari, trying to go defensive, goes locking down that left-hand side, switches to the middle, trying to break the toe with that Ferrari 296. Unfortunately, it's going to be all about the VTEC as the Honda NSX is going to be charging down late on the brakes, gets the send, but can he get it to stop on the apex? Runs out a bit wide, and Hanzo Voss is not going to have an easy time here as Mickey Taylor retakes position around the outside and loses it out as they go through the double right-hander. Double apex, keep it very tight. David Young is now going to try and capitalize on this move. So Mickey Taylor is going to really keep in for the charge if he wants to see it all work. Darius chasing down onto the back of Christian Fingler. Two of our admins here at ERA are going to be duking it out. Darius tried looking for the pass. Christian Fingler saying, not going to happen, buddy. He's going to really put on charge. We have found out, though, during Drive's briefing that Christian Fingler is one of many talents of going and providing different accents from around the world. Couldn't quite do a South African accent, though. Would like to teach him one day how to do that. Oh, but one thing he needs to find out is where the apex is of turn one as Darius takes it away from him, gets the pass done and dusted, and now it is a run away for the Audi R8 GT3 Evo ahead of the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo 2, both utilizing V10 motors coming out of the VW factory, as both are owned by VW. Slight alterations to them, but if you go and take a look at the gearbox, especially the mounting, there's the casting for it, you will actually see the Audi logo on the casting of the Lamborghini. You can pay extra to get a special badge that you can put on and just block out the Audi for any Lamborghini fans out there. Most drivers choose not to do it. They prefer just to leave it as is, so you're not worrying about it. Gearbox is in, hidden under everything. No one's going to really go peering into it. But if you ever do get the chance to look into a GT3 car, especially Lamborghini GT3 Huracans, you will see right on the gearbox, that's the one. Also, dead tell is look at the steering wheels between the Audi R8. Whoa, a little bit of contact between the two Aston Martins. Close Cup and Short Scooter sharing a bit of paint. Yes, they both Aston Martins AMR V8 are chasing each other down. But no need to share a bit of paint on the process as well. It shows how the drivers are pushing as hard as they can. Simon Kussert getting ahead of Flynn Van Hollen onto the back of Lewis Knight as they charge their way through. Nighttime sky turning into a bit of fun. Hours worth of racing for the drivers who need a push as David Roth goes out wide. Loses out drive to Mickey Taylor. Richard Oakes is going to capitalize on the moment. And David Roth losing out to Michael Castro around the outside. This is definitely going to hurt him. Thomas Hagen gets on by. Around the outside, keeps power on. And looks like we're going to have the Beaver Teeth getting ahead. And that is Thomas Hagen in the BMW M4 GT3 as it slides around. You can hear that big turbocharger sounding like an asthma pump to go and break away from the big burly V8 of David Roth. Camille Sutton, though, losing out a bit of time, and he's further down the field. Remember, he was actually one of the drivers that needed to serve a drive-through penalty. Damian Moroney, who started in the pit lane a little bit further back, 29 seconds back, is trying to make up that little bit of a dive. Michael Castro in 26 onto the back of Richard Oakes. Now it's all running the line astern as it stands. Not many cars are right on top of one another, much like Michael Castro and Richard Oakes. Well, Oakes stuck on the outside. He's going to learn that Michael's got good brakes as that Honda N6 keeps a defensive line, holds the apex, forces Richard Oakes out wide, and now got to go back onto the defense. Richard Oakes will have to get a little bit patient here as they snake their way around turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, and really start concentrating on where the tire wear is going to be. Night Sky a little bit further down. He is needing to really push his way up through the field. Is Godfred Rico Calgero, the gold driver, who is now fighting it out in the McLaren 720S as they go and battle out against the big old Bentley GT3. Absolutely stunning part of the naturally aspirated engines. That big burly V8 is lumbering around, and well, surprisingly, the big Boatley is one of the cars that is quite nimble. It's got quite a good rotation that will help out on the circuit. Has got a fair amount of straight line that is comparable to the Lexus of old, and the Lexus going and being one of those good old cars that most drivers would go. But it is all about Sky showing that the Bentley is not worn out. The Queen is not dead. The King is there round. But it's all about the Queen's power that is going and making that Lexus roll. Well, that's Bentley roll. Chris Wall onto the back of Sean Skitter. First up, going and watching Darius trying to make up a bit of time. Now, Darius is a bit further back than what he wants to be, especially for his championship. He needs to try and close up the gap, and Flo Scub, currently racing for the Platinum, doesn't want Darius to get ahead of him because that does compromise him for Christian Fingler to get a bit closer as they make their way through. So now it's going to be just guessing games. Who's going to be able to make the runs? Who's going to be able to send it for the long shot? Sam Kusa closing onto the back of Lewis Knight, and through the final corner just couldn't carry that little bit of momentum. Battles his way through. Flo Scub very defensive on the inside line as they charged up the hill, and now it is just going to be a push all the way through. So we're going to jump on board with Darius as he starts snaking his way through, and you can see the reflections coming off the track, coming off the back of the cars. It makes it rather difficult as they will have to adjust to the constant lights changing from dark to light. Dark to light is pretty much like having a flashbang going off, or even those if you're waking up early in the morning and you've got blackout curtains around your house and you've got a brilliant sunny day. You open the curtains and man, your eyes start to hurt. Well, these drivers feel that every single time they go in between the different lights that are around the circuit and also the bright headlights from each other's cars. So the main thing you want to do is not pay too much of attention to your rearview mirrors. And Darius paying a lot of attention to his gearing and also the brakes. Big send on the inside. Couldn't get it to work, but has closed down the gap to Flo's Cup ahead. And now Flo's going to be very cautious of this one for the Fiddlelight Performance duck power on the wing, which is always fantastic. And I wonder if it was approved by Swans on the run as well, because I mean, you got everything there. Well, Darius getting everything of the pass, hooks it on the inside, gets it done and dusted, and we take a look off the back of the Driscoll Nightmare Racing. That Speed Juice definitely coming to work with a bit of the DMX electricals to just power his way through and utilize a little bit of engine braking to try and get ahead of Flo's Cup, but it's going to be a charge up through the order. Flo not going to let this break out too much. He's going to try and keep onto the tail of Darius at the moment. Remember, these two aren't fighting for the same class. They're fighting for overall track position. But for Flo, if he can keep onto the back of Darius, keep getting pulled along, it will help him to defend against the likes of Christian Fingler. Oh, unless you run out wide just like that. And that's going to allow Christian Fingler and Nico Lawrence to start making up a little bit of time. So, as our drivers cross the line, 10 minutes have gone by. Let's go through our driver listing of who's where. Mahath Musa out in first place, 1.8 seconds away from Christoph Peterson, who's got Stephen Milona James onto the back of him. Ernest Lumbriggs running in fourth, Davis Grudon in fifth, Thomas Baton in sixth, seventh place, Sean Skitzer, Chris Wall, Darius racing in ninth, Flo Scub in 10th, 11th Christian Fingler, Nico Lawrence, Neil Greening, Scott Reynolds in 14th, 15th position is Lewis Knight, followed by Simon Kusa, chasing him down in 16th, Finn Van Holland in 17th, 18th is Ike Sky, Federico Calgero, Dave Young, Nicholas Porras, Christoph Rotsky, Hanso Foss, Michael Castro, Mickey Taylor, Richard Oakes is running in 26th, Thomas Hagen 27th, 28th, David Roth making up a bit of time, David Young in 29th, 30th, Camille Sun and Damian Moroni rounding out the pack. 31 cars still out on track. 31 cars still pushing as hard as they can as they start ticking their way through. Now the question comes in. The pit stops. Well, Michael Castro will answer one as he had to do a pit stop. short one, he had to do a little bit of work there. Unfortunately, no, that was actually starting in pit lane. Michael Castro was one of the cars that did start in pit lane, made his way out of it, and unfortunately needs to go and do another one, so it's going to compromise his time. No drivers thus far have pulled into the pits. Well, Nicholas Porras, though, is going to go and pull right onto the side of Dave Young as they go late on the brakes. He tried to bleed off the brakes a little bit early there to just get the nose in for the corner, but Dave Young doing exactly that as well to ensure they can try and hold the sharp end and keep at least above the front of his nose, and ensuring that the door and the nose are as ahead of Nicholas Porras so he can close it up on the way through. Very, very tight racing between them, but that has allowed Rolotsky in the Lamborghini to get into the chase as well. So keep an eye out for this V10 Raging Bull. The Lamborghini Huracan has got great rotation. Well, he's onto the back of the Buttery Biscuits V8. Nicholas Porras going and charging his way through. They've got some top end that's going to help out, all into the slipstream, except Dave Young is punching a hole for his competitors, and this is only going to help out Nicholas Porras as they keep nice and tight right to the right hand side of the circuit. Going to do a quick sweep across to get it into turn one. Nicholas Porras, though, tried to look for the inside line, really leant into the left hand side, goes out a bit wide, and here comes Rolotsky around the outside, couldn't quite get it to work, gets back into the drive, chasing all the way through, now settling down into a bit of a groove, trying to put his nose in just to see if he can possibly force a pass to happen. Unfortunately, not through that section. Rather difficult to do that. Sam Kussert in 16th onto the back of Lewis Knight in that Nissan GTR. BMW versus Nissan, both front engine vehicles, both turbocharged, and both having the same power band where in the revs that they have to deal with. This also does go and work out of where the turbo lag is going to come in for both cars. Now for the BMW M4 GT3 has got the advantage, a lot newer tech put into it, a lot newer ways to try and get rid of turbo lag, but compared to the bigger engine that is sitting in Lewis Knight's car, that Nissan GTR, that has got huge amount of straight line power, it is going to be a little bit lighter. So Lewis Knight's going to have to bear that in mind and try and utilize where the Nissan has its advantages. Straight line, put your foot flat, run right away. Well, Darius gets ahead of Chris Wall, gets ahead of his teammate, and now Flo Scub is going to have to make his way through. Chris Wall, unfortunately, going and out, braking himself, loses out that little bit of drive, looks on the inside of Darius, can't get the pass done just as yet. So Chris Wall now has to go and switch his focus from what's in front to what's behind, as Flo Scub's going to try and make that pass. And these are going to be interesting days for both drivers. For the likes of Flo, this is an absolute needed to try and get into the toe, to break away from Christian Fingler. And Christian 1.3 seconds back, won't have the slipstream. Flo will have all of it off the back of Chris Wall as they dive towards turn one. Late on the brakes, Darius going out a little bit wide, compromising line. Chris Wall does the same thing, that bottles up the likes of Flo Scub as they make their way through. So you can see how it has this major effect and knock-on in terms of dominoes for our drivers as they figure out what's going to work for them. Richard Oakes now into the pits. He's going to be doing a bit of repair work on his car, I would think, to also sort out the little bit of contact he had but earlier where it actually was rear and front, so he was battling with the balance of the vehicle, especially in high-speed corners, as the Aero would have taken that little bit of a knock. I think an extra 12 seconds will be added onto his time as they do quick work to try and get that car all sorted out and back out racing. Sam Kussert going and losing out a bit of time to Lewis Knight as he tries to make his way through. So a couple of cars going and really pushing as hard as they can. Camille Sun, closest battle on circuit against David Roth, both Mercedes AMG GT3 Evos, and David Roth trying to go defensive, holds the inside line. Camille Sun, who served a drive-through penalty, is now trying to force his way back up. Remember how high he started in qualifying. He's going to have to make it all the way back now, as he did start in 7th. He's 21 positions down on the restart. Well, after serving the drive-through, he's going to go late on the brakes. Thomas Hagen is going to be the next one in that BMW, but David Roth around the outside. Can he make it work? And it does look like Camille gets past David Roth, and Thomas Hagen is next on the cards in front of him, also making that critical error of running out a little bit wide, and that absolutely hurts him. Nicholas Porras dropping down as Christoph Rolotsky gets past, and now there's a switch up from 21st to 22nd for Nicholas Porras, who was right on the back of Dave Young, was trying to pull himself along. Unfortunately, the Lamborghini, with a bit more rotation, was able to get the car in, turn around, and just use that little bit of power to just get the nose and the rear to straighten up a little bit. So as our drivers really need to push themselves out a little bit more, seeing where they can go, it is Nicholas Porras who pulls into the pits. He's going to try and serve that pit stop, get it done and dusted, so he can carry on trying to get into a little bit of momentum. Don't want to get caught out. This circuit is a bit of a weird one. For most drivers, you want to keep nice and close to your competition. Get to see when they're pulling into the pits, where do you need to move, how are you going to get that climb. But for others, getting away from the traffic, getting away from all the cars that are around you allows you to focus on your lap times. You're going to have a target lap time you go to. Example, you want to run about roughly a 2:06.5 to be towards the top 5, top 6. If you can run that time, mid-grid it's about 2:07.5s as well. So being in a pack, that can compromise you. If you're out in the middle of nowhere though, you can try and concentrate on your times. You won't quite get into the low 2:07s without a little bit of a toe or with a bit of effort to get that little bit of run. So it's always a twofold game of how you're going to play around here, as Porras getting his pit stop done and dusted. The 3:15 though, that's David Young, who lands up in the dirt, and that is rather unfortunate. Let's quickly go and take a look and see what happened to Young as he makes his way through. He was on to the back of, that looks to be David Roth, as he makes his way around the circuit. Yes, it was, and unfortunately he just had the rear step out, brings it to a stop. I've got a funny feeling quite possibly that car stalled out. So I would think the 3:15, and this is curious, we're going back to it, but we're going to go on board with a helmet though and see how it makes up the time. So charging through 5th gear onto 4th, catches a tank slapper, 3rd, brings it back, slows the car down, and that is a restart on the car. So it definitely stalled out on track. Well, it was fishtailing, so always an interesting time. He had to bring the revs right back up to get going and drop the clutch. So difficult times indeed as our drivers make their way through. A couple of other drivers we need to talk about. Nicholas Porras, Richard Oakes, Thomas Hagen, all have done their pit stops at the moment, and they are sitting towards the bottom end of the field. They'll be trying to catch up to Damian Moroni in 27th position. Thomas Hagen is closed up onto the back of Richard Oakes and is doing everything he can. But that is one of our Mustangs. That is Thomas Morton, who is on to the back of him. And Thomas Morton running in 5th place. Will be looking to try and make short work of both these cars. Dives around the outside of Thomas Hagen. Beautifully done. The Panica Power V8 is going to really try and help out here. The Ford Coyote engine, the Ford Coyote V8, that is absolutely pushing as hard as they can. Whoa, we do have problems out towards the top though, as a couple of cars got caught out, and that is the 440 of Simon Kussat and Finn van Holland that landed up in a bit of a problem. So let's go to the helicam and take a look. This is Simon Kussat with Finn van Holland in the Porsche, making their way around late onto the anchors. Simon Kussat trying to carry as much momentum. The rear starting to step out. It did. It snapped back, and unfortunately contact with both. And, oh man, just had that loss of control on the rear. Landed up with 2 cars hurt in the process. Going to need a pit stop, and I think a bit of repair work needing to both cars to get it sorted out and back going. It's going to really take a bit of an impact, and suddenly lap times are more critical than ever once you get back out onto the track. Hanso Voss all over the back of Finn van Holland, who we saw in that accident going and sporting a bit of damage to the front end of his car. Means the aero is going to be not so great, tire wear is going to be a bit more, and also control is going to be a pain in the backside. So as we jump on board with him, as he tries to make his way through, a slight bend in the steering is starting to affect his cornering, and you can see that understeer just absolutely becoming atrocious as the front end does not want to tuck into the corners. And there goes Hanso Voss making quick work of the Porsche just limping around, and Finn van Hollen's going to have to get back into the pits. Is he going to attempt to? No. He's going to continue going right onto the back of Hanso Voss, so doesn't want to pull him to the pits just as yet, as we hit the 38-minute mark left of this race. It's going to be an interesting one. And the only cars that have done the pit stop is 28th, 29th, and 30th position, folks. Everyone else is still sitting and waiting to get themselves out into the pits. And so far, fastest lap time of the race has been set by Stephen Milana-James. Remember, he is fighting out, trying to close up that championship as much as possible for the likes of our Diamonds. And at the moment, he is a little bit further down. He's in 12th place. Had a great run out at Spa though. Silverstone not so great for him. He's had 16 points total, scoring points at Barcelona and scoring points at Spa to try and make up that little bit of pace. Unfortunately, with the drop round included, he has thrown away a good couple of races. Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, likes with Silverstone becoming a bit of a problem for him. Hungaroring was an issue as well. Donington, he wasn't able to get a time on. So scoring big here today will move him a little bit up, maybe into the top 10 to try and keep it going. He has to get ahead of Craig Hewlett as he goes and makes his way through. So going to be an interesting time to see how the drivers are going to work their way around this. Who needs to get the drive? Well, Darius at the moment up against Thomas Hagen as he gets past the likes of the Rust Bucket Racing. Chris Wall is going to be closing up the gap, and he's got a problem with Flo Scup as they march on their way through. Late on the brakes, Richard Oakes just doing everything he can to try and stay alive at the moment as it got awfully busy out there. Flo Scup looks on the inside of Chris Wall, couldn't get the pass done. Side by side with the Rust Bucket Racing of Richard Oakes, who tries to make his way through, and a rather busy circuit for our drivers as they make up a little bit of time. Flo Scup losing out a bit of drive to Chris Wall, who's getting pulled along by Darius. Thomas Hagen, though, late braking, does block off the apex for Flo and Chris Wall. And compromises their drive on the way through. Darius is going to capitalize on this moment to start opening up that gap a little bit more. Sean Skitter a little bit further up ahead, also known as Skitty to the Logistical Nightmare Racing team. And you're going and enjoying it. Camille Sun, great look on the inside of Mickey Taylor. Mickey Taylor in this good area. Ferrari, the Ferrari 296 GT3, going and utilizing that V6 turbocharge. Try and outrun the V8. Naturally aspirated Mercedes AMG. Well, no, top end. Going and winning that one. There is no replacement for displacement, and the Merc has got plenty of that as the Mercedes AMG team AL Minor is going to make their way through. The Al Minor team going and trying to make up that little bit of time. Camille Sun doing a great job after his drive-through penalty and is really closed up the gap. Well, talking about closing up the gaps, here is the race for overall position and class position. It is Christoph Peterson leading out the championship, has got the problem with Stephen Milana-James, who's got the absolute wick underneath him. He is really pushing as hard as he can, and this is a nightmare case for Christoph Peterson as he's got 15 seconds when he pulls into the pits that needs to be served. And Stephen Milana-James, well, he's got nothing there. And so has Ernest Umbriggs, absolutely nothing for their pit stops. So it's going to be fuel tires, get back out, and let's see how far it's going to go for Christoph Peterson. He's in a world of hurt. He needs to try and shake off Stephen Milana-James as quick as possible. Maybe an undercut is an option here as he goes past the pit lane. But it may be a thought that runs through the driver's head. An undercut to try and get it sorted out. Maybe go and see how far you can push it into the race and get yourself running. I would lean on the undercut to try and just get the tires up to scratch, especially now that we've gone nearly into the halfway mark. And Nico Lawrence getting a pass done as we see Christian Fingler just out of the halfway mark. 34 minutes, pulls into the pits. He's going to be keeping a very close eye on a couple of cars further down, namely Nicholas Porres, Thomas Hagen, Richard Oakes being those very drivers he wants to keep an eye out for as Camille Sun closes up the gap all over the back of Finn van Hollen, lurks on the inside, going to try his luck, but it's going to be Porsche with the advantage into the left-hander, carries a lot of momentum through onto the brakes, and now into the final corner. Camille Sun puts the nose in side by side, forcing the door open, forces the likes of Finn van Hollen a little bit too wide over the rumble strips. It's drag race up towards the top. It's going to be the V8 versus the inline 6 of the Porsche. Gets on by. Remember, he's got a bit of damage on the car, so he's not able to work out on top end. You would have seen something very, very interesting. I'm going to take it back about 30 seconds, mainly the straight. and we are going to look specifically at the front of Finn van Hollen's car, because you'll see the Porsche when he gets onto the brakes or if there's a bump. Due to the damage, he's actually got the one headlight disconnecting and reconnecting, so it's actually flickering in the dark on that left-hand side. Did you spot it? That little bit of winking? Well, that's it. Touch on the brakes and that left-hand side is disappearing, reappearing, and it's costing him a fair amount of time. It's also quite jarring as a driver when you suddenly have your lights going in and out of existence as you battle your way through. Something on the damage model of the Porsche that none of the others tend to battle with. If you go and damage those over any of the other cars, you don't usually get that little bit of a flicker on the Porsches. Doesn't matter if you're on the 992 or the 991 or the 997, you will land up with the same issue. That damage to the sharp end of the nose, headlight on the one side will always flicker when you under brakes or you go over a bump. Don't know why, can't explain it other than it's Herbie doing what Herbie does. Hanzo Voss, on the other hand, doing what Honda shouldn't be doing, and that is mowing the lawn a little bit. Drops down into 20th position. That's going to allow Mickey Taylor, Scuderia Ferrari, closing up the gap behind him. Now those tyres are also feeling quite punished, as he's going to have to get it all sorted out. Christoph Peterson in the pits, Nico Lawrence into the pits. So there's Stephen Milano James out at the top. Ernest Lundbriggs running in second place. David Scrudon running in third, followed by Thomas Morton in fourth. Fifth place, Sean Skitter. Darius running in sixth. Chris Wall in seventh, followed by Flo Scubb all over the back of him. Scott Reynolds in ninth. 10th place, Neil Greening. Lewis Knight in 11th. Ice Sky, along with Federico Calgero, Michael Castro, Dave Young, Simon Kussat coming on by. Camille Sun is going to also gain 2 positions from Christoph Peterson and Nico Lawrence. It looks like Hanzo Voss and Mickey Taylor are going to capitalize on this. Finn van Hollen into the pits, so he's getting it all fixed. David Young into the pits. David Roth will be quite happy with that one as he carries on the momentum through. Christian Fingler going to be leading out the pack of those that have done their pit stops. Well, speaking about that, he's going to have to come out ahead of the very own Peterson, who is now exiting pit lane. Nico Lawrence coming out of pits. David Young has dropped down. He will be exiting pits. Finn van Hollen and Christian Fingler a little bit too far back. So it is going to be in favor of Christoph Peterson going that little bit later, and now leading out those that have done their pit stop for the evening. Mandatory pit stop needing to be served. Remember, he did serve 15 seconds on top of it due to the success penalty. The better you do, the more you get a penalty that you're going to have to carry to the next race. 15 seconds was added on to Christoph Peterson's time to try and bring the grids a lot closer to one another and cause you to think about your strategy a bit more. It's a bit of a thinking game here at ERA, and that's what we love to do. It's all about teaching. It's all about teaching setups, teaching ideas, strategies, and moving forward, but also keeping it friendly, competitive, and also just having a bunch of fun in the process. Well, Chris Paul and Flo Scubb not going to have fun with one another as they pull into the pits, getting their pit stops done and dust. David Scruton, Thomas Morton all pulling into the pits. Stephen Milano James going for the overcut. At the moment, he's going to try and do it out of retaliation to Christoph Peterson's move. Ernest Lundbriggs, though, is going to keep up the momentum in the Ferrari 488 Evo to break away. Sean Skitter in the Aston Martin AMR of Logistical Nightmare Racing, running in second place. Darius now up into third. Neil Greening is into fourth place. Lewis Knight, Ike Sky, Federico Calgero, Michael Castro will be smiling ear to ear as each of them have all moved up from their original position. So let's quickly go through the gains and losses as it is a topsy-turvy time at the moment, with Ernest Lundbriggs leading out the pack. He started in fourth. He's up 3 positions to get into that first place, but that isn't the most surprising. Sean Skitter up 13 positions. Started in 15th. He's now in second. But that's still not the most exciting. I know. Like, come on. What can be more? Lewis Knight started in 21st. He's in 5th. That's 16 positions up. But that's still not the best part, as Simon Kussat is also 16 positions up. Now, what can be exciting? Well, that's going to be to this man over here, Ike Sky, in the Bentley, moving up 21 positions on the 28-hour mark. Started in 27th, he's now in 6th, 21 positions up from his original starting order. He has really shown what this Bentley can do, but still needs to serve his pit stop, and that will change things into touch, as we do see those that have lost out a huge amount is Christoph Peterson after his pit stop, down 12 places. And Davis Gruden down 13 places after his run, and now trying to slowly build up that little bit of time, get back into the fight nonetheless. So let's take a look at our class positions. Ernest Lumbriggs was leading our diamonds with Sean Skitter and Darius running third of our diamonds. They will be swapping around on that one as Ernest Lumbriggs into the pit. So Sean Skitter will be first, Darius second, and moving on to our golds as Neil Greening pulling into the pits. Lewis Knight, is he going to pull into the pits? Yes. So it's Neil Greening, Lewis Knight leading out first and second of our golds, with Ike Sky leading out our platinums. Third of our golds is running as Federico Calgero will be making up some time and trying to make his way through. Ike Sky leading out our platinums with the likes of Simon Kussert in second place of the platinums, and Hanso Voss in 11th is third of our platinums as they charge their way through. And that's really a tell of the signs for our drivers on who's going to be able to get their times, who's going to be able to move their way forward. But what I'm starting to wonder is when our drivers going to get into the box. 27 minutes and 17 seconds to go for those that are really pushing as hard as they can. Sean Skitter feeling the pressure from Darius, looks up on the inside, side by side, both go, and this is going to be interesting. Both teammates but also fierce competitors going and fighting out for the championship, and Darius and Skitter are going drag race all the way through, and I can hear the likes of Jude Neville who would be shouting to them saying, just don't, just don't, just don't. Wow, that is close between Sean Skitter and Darius of Logistical Nightmare Racing that had the entire pit taking a deep breath. They still side by side fighting for first, and it's still a charge. Darius magnificently gets the pass, but Sean Skitter stuck his nose in right through until he had no option but to come off the power. And that was some very, very pleasant racing, and good to see some great side-by-side moments, and no really team orders coming into play there, as you see Christian Fingler and Scott Reynolds going to fight it out between one another. The Ford Mustang GT3, the most modern of the GT3s here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, and that is the Ford Mustang. Lots of power underneath it. Is a bit loose though. Some drivers not quite enjoying the way it feels. It's a little bit lumbering. It's a bit slidey on the throttle, but then that understeer comes and creeps in a little bit quicker. But the likes of the Lamborghini is always one that is just very, very heavy on rear rotation, so you've got to be so careful on the run. Michael Castro running in fourth place, right onto the back of Ike Sky. He's looking to try and get the pass. Remember, he's running third in the Diamond class. He gets the send. Ike Sky's going to try go around the outside. Side by side they go. Ike Sky stuck on the outside, sweeps across the nose. Michael Castro is going to have to follow suit. The Honda NSX really keep on the power. Two of the cars that have been long since forgotten in the sim. Not many people run the Honda, not many people run the Bentley, but both cars showing off what they can do. Stephen Milana James leading out those that have done all their pit stops. Ernest Lumbriggs running in sixth has completed all these pit stops as they make their way through. So great to see the drivers charging their way forward. But it is only our top four, Darius, Sean Skitter, Ike Sky, and Castro, needing to do their final pit stops, especially here in the last 24 minutes of the race. It's all or nothing for round 5 of the ERA Sunday Championship. 7 rounds in this championship, so you need to score big for round 5, round 6 to make round 7 that perfect run. Remember, round 7 is a very difficult circuit. Mixed conditions going to be added to Brands Hatch, and throughout the season, the drivers have been handling everything from icy cold tracks to splendidly, extremely hot circuits that the drivers going to have to really work their way through. Very windy days to the brightest of skies, sunset into night, a little bit of dusk in between. Well, this is what it's all about, teaching you the fundamentals right across. And Michael Castro, big look on the inside of Ike Sky, who was trying to go for a rapid defense, left, right, compromise his drive, threw the nose out, understeer came in, and unfortunately that cost him a bit of time, also damage to the tires as well. Darius, Sean Skitter, both into the pits. Michael Castro and Ike Sky, I think, will be going and seeing this and deciding they will follow suit on those pit stops to try and get ahead of Stephen Milana James, who has done the fastest lap of the race and will carry on his way through. Michael Castro, though, opting not to go in the pits. Very, very interesting here. He's going to try and run the clock as far as he can with that Honda NSX. A very interesting situation as Christoph Peterson in a bit of a rough one for himself, as Thomas Moulton, fighting out for class positioning at the moment, has got the current leader and defending champion behind him, pushing to try and make up some time. Now, remember, Christoph Peterson needs to try and break away as much as possible from the rest of the field, but I do want to point out there is a car missing at the moment, and that is Mahath Musa, who is out of the race. So we got 30 cars. Yes, I can confirm Mahath Musa is the 31st car that has retired out of the race, which means he's going to score no points for the championship, and that is going to help Christoph Peterson actually walk away with the championship. Mahath Musa will be on the serious back foot. What on earth happened to Mahath Musa, the Project Vapor team, to really put him onto the back foot the way he did? Just to land up with a disconnect is just, it's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. He's been one of the most consistent drivers out there, and has always been one to challenge, but something must have gone wrong. A bit of force majeure, power failure in South Africa, possibly internet dropping out, maybe an emergency, maybe the car got damaged and it just couldn't go, that we missed out on circuit. So many speculations. We'll try and get that little bit of information as soon as possible and get it out to you guys, even if it's in the post race. Try and find out what happened to the likes of Mahath Musa and his disconnect and retirement out of the race. Oh man, I mean, that is just gutting, absolutely gutting for the Project Vapor team. He has been on such a tremendous charge this past week and has really gone and stepped up the game to try and take away the crown from the likes of our defending champion Christoph Peterson, as they fought it out right to the very end. Oh man, that's not great. Flo Scub, though, is going to chase down Christian Fingler. Flo looking around the outside, tries to go for late braking, switches the inside, has to really stand on the anchors. Christian Fingler stopping dead on the apex and holding the 11th position. Flo battling it out. Remember, these two are fighting for class position, and so far it's running for third in the class. Flo Scub goes out and battles his way through. He's going to get around the outside, leading on each other quite a bit. Christian Fingler going and snapping across, keeping the defense at the moment, and Flo having to really think, where can he get this pass done and dusted, as they need to catch up to David Scruton ahead in first place, Reynolds in second, Christian Fingler running in third, and has got so much pressure from Flo Scub on the back of him. As we do see Michael Castro pulls into the pits, he's now going down the ladder as quick as he went up it. He's now into ninth. He's going to have Scott Reynolds and Christian Fingler and Flo Scub get on by as they charge their way through. 20 minutes and 20 seconds left of this race, and it's all or nothing for these championships. Everyone looking to score big here today. Out in front, though, Stephen Milona James, Ernest Lumbriggs, Christoph Peterson, first, second, and third of Diamond and overall. Then David Scruton, along with Scott Reynolds and Christian Fingler, running for our Platinum class, first, second, and third. Moving on to our Golds, Lewis Knight, followed by Federico Calgero, and Neil Greening is first, second, and third, fighting their way through, and it's close stuff. Nonetheless, Christian Fingler trying to break away from Flo Scub, one of our tightest battles out on track currently, and it does look like Fingler not having a great run, as Flo Scub getting a little bit unsteady under the power. So great times there, but let's go through overall positioning instead of class positioning, just give you a bit of insight as they make their way through. I think there's enough time now. Stephen Milona James, Ernest Lumbriggs, Christoph Peterson, Thomas Morton, Darius, followed by Chris Wall, David Scruton, Sean Skitter, Scott Reynolds, Christian Fingler, Flo Scub, Nico Lawrence, Lewis Knight, Michael Castro, Ike Sky, Federico Calgero, and 16-17, Neil Greening, Dave Young, Christopher Wolotsky, Nicholas Porras, Camille Son, Hanzo Foss, Mickey Taylor, Simon Kusa, David Young, David Roth, along with Thomas Hagen in 27. 28th is Richard Oakes, followed by Flynn Van Holland. Oh, both landing up with contact with one another. We just caught that, and unfortunately, that is Finn Van Holland once again damage to the front end of the car. Richard Oakes also having an earlier contact. That is a nightmare case for both drivers. Damien Maroney riding out the pack, 30th position, and with the retirement of Mahath Musa, makes that 31 cars But unfortunately, Mythe was out of the running. Flowscub looks for the inside of Christian Fingler. Couldn't get that pass done. Nicola Lawrence has got Lewis Knight chasing him in the background. And they are the closest fights on track. Currently sitting 0.2 of a second between Flowscub and Christian Fingler as they fight out for that top 10 overall. Fingler just sitting within the top 10. Lying third in class, needs to do everything he can to get the drive to work out. Flowscub right into the toe, looks for the inside, couldn't quite get that pass. He went and tried for a little bit late on the brakes, but Christian Fingler really bleeds off the brakes quite quickly there to ensure that he can stay ahead. It was a very, very risky maneuver to do that as we jump on board, looking over the rear wing to the back on the nose of Flowscub, who's trying to close up. You can see through the S's, a bit more comfortable. The Aston Martin can ride the curbs a little bit easier, utilizing the front engine just to plow over the curbs and really get as close as he can to the back of Christian Fingler. But the understeer starting to be on corner exit. Oh, snap oversteer as he gets a bit unsettled. As jumping over the curb, it goes and switches the nose to the tail. He's going to line it up inside, outside, try to sell the dummy late on the anchors as they do the switcheroo. Can he make it work though? Christian Fingler tries to do everything he can. Flowscub, switcheroo, sold, and that is that. The dummy was pulled. Flowscub beautifully gets the pass and now holds third place in class as he tries to break the toe with the likes of Christian Fingler as they make their way around. So Flowscub now late on the brakes, flames coming out the sides of out the sides of the car from those straight pipes coming out of the motor. That beautiful V8 going and putting some flames in the air in the night sky. Absolutely great to see. Simon Cussat onto the back of Mickey Taylor as they go late onto the brakes. Mickey Taylor in that Ferrari 296 with Simon Cussat in the BMW M4 GT3 as they charge their way through. It is going to be the in line 6 versus the straight versus the V6 turbocharged. Both are turbos, two different ways of doing the same 6 cylinders to ensure that they can get by. Well, Taylor early on the brakes has Simon Cussat. Huge Sen has that compromised him though. Simon Cussat does get the drive out of the corner. Mickey Taylor down into 24th position. But Simon Cussat a little bit unsteady under braking as he tries to settle the car down. 16 minutes to go here in ERA for the Sunday Championship. All trying to make up as much ground as possible, trying to figure out where is it all going to work out for them. It does look like it's going to be an easy drive for the likes of Stephen Milano James, 3.9, going 4 seconds away from Ernest Lundbriggs. Christoph Peterson running in 3rd, 4th place. Thomas Malton, Darius running in 5th, 6th, Chris Wall, David Scrudon, Sean Skitzer, Skirt Reynolds, Flowscub, still trying to break away from Christian Fingler. Nicola Lawrence has got the likes of Lewis Knight, Michael Castro, Ike Sky, Federico Calgero, Neil Greening, Dave Young, Christoph Rolotsky, Camilo's son, Nicholas Porras, trying to make up that time, lying in 21st. Hanso Foss, Simon Cussat in 23rd. 24th, Mickey Taylor, along with David Young, late under the brakes, try and make it work. David Roth going out a little bit wide as Thomas Hagen going and really losing that car. The 417 getting a bit out of shape. So let's take a look what happened to Thomas Hagen. He's in the middle of nowhere, so there's no contact with any cars. Did the BMW just get a bit of a snap oversteer to it? I think quite possibly runs out a bit wide. Over the curbs, over the marbles, snap oversteer. Oh, hard impact into the wall. And that is not going to be a happy camper for the BMW. Thankfully, it does look like the steering is sort of okay, but there's definitely some damage to the sharp end of that car. He's going to have to be very, very mindful as he goes and makes his way around the circuit. So difficult times out there for a lot of our drivers. Christian Fingler and Flowscub still pushing as hard as they can. Flo doing everything possible to maintain that top 10 with Christian Fingler right onto the back of him. Christian, part of the admin team, part of the founders of ERA, is under pressure of getting out of the top 10. He's going to have to get as close as he can, go for late onto the anchors. The likes of the Lamborghini has got the ability to do that. It's got a lot of rotation underneath it. You've got to really trust those big brakes to get it to work. But you need to try and get as close as you can to the Aston Martins that have some serious top end to them. And Flowscub, who is on a monumental charge to try and launch his way into the championship fight and ensure his victories can come smoothly as it stands. So Flo's going to have to really think the bigger picture here of where he wants it to be as he's not in the championship fight per se, but he wants to put some good times on board. Dev Scruton, on the other hand, is going to be quite happy with his run. He is running a little bit further down the order and needing to try and figure out where he can get that little bit of drive. Reynolds, who is running second in our Platinums, is also trying to figure out where he can get a little bit of a run. And Reynolds is also a little bit further down than planned for his championship run. Christian Fink, though, running in 9th in the championship, will be really pushing to try and make up that little bit of time. Nico Lawrence running 3rd in the championship. He's now 4th out on track. He'll be 5th out on track. So he needs to get ahead of Christian Fink to try and minimize the points as he looks to try and beat out Glenn Smith, who's not here today, along with Martin Spritzer is not here today. So maybe, just maybe, Nico Lawrence, if he can score some valuable points, he may be able to start moving his way up through the order. It's going to be a difficult time for him. Lucas Cullip is also not on the track as it stands, so he hasn't got anything to worry about that. But his son, who's running 5th in the championship, is still out on circuit and will be scoring some points to help his way in the championship. So interesting times nonetheless. Stephen Milana James now up to Finn van Hollen as he's trying to lap his way around, not wanting to get caught out too much as Ernest Lumbriggs in the Rusty's colours that you normally see associated with Lightning McQueen on the Disney Cars movie. Well, Cars 1, 2 and 3, by the way. It changed around Cars 3 when it all went over to Doc Hudson. Doc Hudson's passed away and the mantle being passed over. Long story that's well worth for those wanting to watch Cars. As we do see Finn van Hollen minding out of the way, and we do see Ernest Lumbriggs slotting in to try and make up that little bit of time. Interesting to see 2 generations of Ferraris out on circuits. Not often you get to see that in any of the leagues and any of the LFM racing. You will generally see either the 296 or you will see the likes of the more modern GT3 cars. But here in ERA, we do allow those, interesting cars to pop up. And that's like the 488 that you currently see on circuit, challenging the 296, the more modern of the Ferraris, and also like the big Bentleys coming in and having a bit of fun. Lewis Knight, though, in the Nissan GTR, not having as much fun as it's a battle for Japan. Nissan versus Honda as it stands. The Honda NSX on Michael Castro chasing down the likes of Lewis Knight. Let's see if little Honda's got the legs to try and keep up with Lewis Knight. It definitely will have the cornering. A lot of rotation that can come out of that car. Does hurt its tires though, and especially on the rears as it starts to slide around. So Michael Castro's got to be very cautious with that Duff beer in the livery of Duff beer as a bit of a nod to the ongoing, very, very long show running of The Simpsons and the Homer Simpson drink of choice, as the Repsol colours of Lewis Knight going and making his way around the circuit, holding 13th. Michael Castro onto the back of him, really doing everything he can to go for the pass. Unfortunately, not going to be able to get it. The Nissan far wider than you would think, and the Honda itself is also not a very slimmed down car. It may look a lot lower, which it is, but it's definitely made it up in width, because there's actually, in GT3 rules, you've got to fit a certain box, and you can't have this very narrow car, otherwise everyone's going to be doing it. You have to fit within the regulations of your width and lengths that come into it. Minimum width and lengths, as Michael Castro outbrakes himself into turn 1, goes and holds it all together. Over the curbs it goes, bottoming out that Honda, and the Just Go Fast machine finding its way through. Well, we talked about the track limits, and Sean Skitter has learnt that the hard way. Drive-through penalty with 9 minutes to go, and he is in 8th position. That's going to knock him out of the top 10 in a heartbeat. Not a good time out there. The 3:15 also in a tough time. David Young losing the rear of the car, and that is heading towards the final corner. Darius all over the back of Thomas Morton. So Thomas is going to have to really get the momentum through as they fight their way around the circuit. and it is going to be a difficult time. Darius looks for the inside, tries late braking, unfortunately didn't quite work there. Gotta think about the strategies here. 8 minutes and 37 seconds to go. There's not a lot of time to hang around. Darius is losing very, very much valuable points for the championship. Thomas Morton at the moment running 7 in the championship, so where he is currently lying in 4th is a big climb for him to get close to the Chris Wall, Michael Castro, Sean Skitter, who is now getting a drive-through penalty. He's going to fall down the order, but Darius, who's running in 3rd, needs to ensure he finishes beating out Thomas Morton, but that beautiful Ford V8 is not going to let him go. The Ford Coyote V8 in that Ford Mustang is going to have the straight line. Late on the anchors, it's the Audi R8 that looks for the pass. Darius late send, gets it sorted out, bleeds off the brake a little bit early just to ensure that he can just get that nose to pop forward ahead of Thomas Morton and the Blinker Power team, and they will have to go and wait a little bit longer as it stands. So Darius gets the pass done and now needs to open up that gap as far as he can. Krzysztof Wolodzki all over the back of Dave Young. Dave Young feeling the pressure to just try and keep it all together as he goes and battles his way around. But we also get reports on the number 20. That is Richard Oakes. Drive-through penalty for Richard Oakes. And he has parked off on the side of the circuit. What on earth happened that landed up with him parked off on the circuit? So where would you get the drive-through penalty? Where would the track limits be? And I think it may have been a little bit earlier. So he got the track limits, drive-through penalty, and unfortunately not able to get that car across the line. Rather going to retire the machine. Oh, not quite ideal. Prefer to see it get to the end. That's my personal take to it. But unfortunately not going to happen for the driver. Ice Sky, oh, this is going to hurt him. 14th position, 6 minutes to go. Drive-through penalty has crept in and now taken away some of the chances to get valuable points towards his championship. And considering he's been in title contention for the likes of our Platinums, this is not going to help him out at all. And Sky is going to have to scratch his head on this one of where can he make up that little bit of time and how much is that going to hurt. Krzysztof Wolodzki going for the look in on Dave Young. Couldn't quite get the pass. He still hangs into that left-hand mirror, hoping, possibly crying for an opportunity to get that pass. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in his favor. And Dave Young is now allowing Sean Skitter to get into the tow as they make their way through. Sean Skitter served his drive-through penalty and is all over the back of Wolodzki. And Wolodzki trying to put his nose underneath Dave Young. Couldn't get that pass done and dusted, and is desperately clawing at the way. Thomas Hagen now with a drive-through penalty, and that is going to compromise the 417 as he spun out, rejoining right in front of Stephen Milano James, and he has to take a bit of evasive maneuvers there. Not going to be a smiling Stephen Milano as he's going to be really scratching his head. Whoa, Sean Skitter out a little bit wide there, gets onto the back of Wolodzki. Now Camille Sons also in tow, both pulling themselves along. All 4 cars are fighting it out. Dave Young leading out the train, goes late on the brakes, tries to keep it all together. Wolodzki looks for the inside, couldn't get it working out. Sean Skitter carries through. Camille Sun though gets a tank slapper, saves the car from certain death as he tries to keep it going. Gets onto the pace. Thomas Hagen though into the wall. Oh man, major damage to that car, and he's just trying to stay out of the way. Huge send for Sean Skitter up on the inside of Wolodzki. Wolodzki having to move out of the way there, and it was a monster send on the 2. The Lamborghini also trying to have a come back at him. Camille Sun's going to have a look around the outside. A little bit of contact between the 2. Nothing untoward though. Oh, that on the other hand is going to hurt both drivers, and his son into Wolodzki under braking, and that has taken them out of the fight. Dave Young losing out of position to Sean Skitter as they make their way through. So his son getting caught out under braking, and that unfortunately collected Wolodzki. Let's quickly go to Tim in the helicams, give us a bit of an oversight of what happens. So Wolodzki goes out a little bit wide, loses out the drive, and the son goes side by side. A little bit of contact between the 2, nothing too bad there, and it is under braking, rear quarter, twisted around, and none in the wall, but Tyres definitely eating it big time there. And Rolotsky going and having to turn around the car in the likes of the tar, tears those tyres even further compared to the likes of the Sun, who did it on the grass to just try and do a little bit of protection to it. And Michael Castro making his way through as the 417 stopped out on track, trying to get himself going. And I think has got a huge amount of damage. Yeah, no, that car is going nowhere fast, rather than just trying to limp his way through to keep it going. Michael Castro stand up on the inside, couldn't get it working on the likes of Nico Lawrence as they fight their way through. Nonetheless, 3 minutes to go, and it's still an outright charge. The 417, though, needs to get into the pits. Thomas Hagen trying everything he can to get that car into the pits and get it back out onto circuit. It's going to be a tough time for him, though, as we do see Damien Moroni getting caught out, and that is the number 28. Sorry, that's a 334. And who on earth did you have contact with? And that looks like it may have been the 98 of Skurt Reynolds. Yes, it is Skurt Reynolds in the Mustang that was behind him. Did Maloney get it all wrong? Did the Porsche snap? Yes, it did. And unfortunately, just as he was bringing it back, Skurt Reynolds gets into the nose of his car and will be suffering a bit of damage onto the back of that. So not ideal circumstances as Nico Lawrence gets on a loss on Michael Castro. Castro with a bit of a send, gets it all booked in. Well, Nico Lawrence try and come back at him, looks towards the inside line. It's going to be hard onto the brakes, switches out to the outside. Nico Lawrence is going to have to try for the sweep back, tries to pull a little bit of a dummy early on the power, and it does look like Michael Castro sweeps across the nose, keeping a hard defense at the moment, not allowing that pass to happen just as yet, as our drivers look to really kick it up that extra bit of mile. Late on the brakes, Castro going down the gears, but battle out towards the sharp end of the field. Stephen Milano James onto the back, has Ernest Lumbricks onto the back, apologies, as they fight their way through. Like Sky needing to do that drive-through penalty. He's got 3 laps to get it done and dusted, otherwise he will suffer a DSQ in the process. So not ideal circumstances. He's going to have to serve it, and unfortunately it's going to drop him further down into the clutches of Dave Young and Rolotsky, running in 18th and 19th position. He does pull into the pit, so he's serving that drive-through penalty. Ernest Lumbricks, though, on the back of Stephen Milano James, goes for the inside overpass, couldn't quite get it sorted out. The 488, the precursor to the 296, as you see out on track, both fighting it out. Side by side they go, pushing as hard as they can right the way through, and it looks like Ernest Lumbricks is going to have the advantage, forcing Stephen Milano James into the fringes of the circuit late on the anchors. Really try and carry a lot of momentum through, and wow, my heavens, Stephen Milano James gets that pass done and dusted. The Triple Crown trying to keep ahead of Ernest Lumbricks. A little bit of a close call between the two. Side by side they go. Lumbricks now stuck on the outside as Stephen Milano James holds a great defense. 20 seconds to go. It is an all or nothing charge for our drivers to ensure that they are in the huge fight. Ernest Lumbricks staying within the charge, moving up and doing everything he can to find it out. Looks left, looks right, can't get the pass done. 4 seconds to go, and Stephen Milano James will make his way through, hard on the anchors, gets as much drive as possible, and now has Ernest Lumbricks in the tow, chasing down. 0.3 comes across the line. Stephen Milano James takes the win. 0.3 with Ernest Lumbricks. Flo Scub and Skurt Reynolds are going to fight it out. Reynolds up on the inside. Scub going down the order. This is a fight for third in the Platinums. David Screwdon Reynolds managing to go and fight it all. David Screwdon broken away. Reynolds holding on to second and third as we watch it through. Flo Scub around the outside, around the inside, can't get the run. Skurt Reynolds holding on to second place, doing everything he can. This is going to help him out in the championship. Late on the brakes, going for the charge, and Skurt Reynolds holds on to second. Flo Scub gets the run. Christian Fingler, 0.3 of a second ahead of Michael Castro. So great running there. So Stephen Milano James, Ernest Lumbricks, Christoph Peterson, Darius, followed by Thomas Walden, Chris Wall, David Scruden, Skurt Reynolds, Flo Scub, Christian Fingler, Michael Castro, Nico Lawrence, Lewis Knight, Federico Calgero comes across the line ahead of Neil Greening. So Lewis Knight gets a win. for the gold. Colguero in second. Neil Greening in third. Sean Skitter comes across the line in 16th. Drive-through penalty for Dave Young. Oh no, David Young on the last has got a drive-through penalty, and so does Thomas Hagen, as they will come across the line. And that will add a fair chunk of time. And for Dave Young, that is an absolute nasty hit to the confidence. And it will throw him down below the likes of Roth and towards Maloney on the way through. So some tough times out there. And Motorsport, the cruel mistress, as they go through. But Stephen Milano-James gets the win overall. He's going to be happy with that one, walking away with some great points and some great racing as Mickey Taylor comes across the line to get himself sorted out. And absolutely wonderful set of racing nonetheless, as we go and take a look. My heavens, what a race, what excitement, and what a drive here at COTA. Beautiful, beautiful circuit. We will be having our drivers coming up in due course to have a chat to us here in the commentary box, and we get a bit of an insight of how it all went out there. I mean, some phenomenal racing, close racing between one another. I mean, you can't even get any closer if you tried. And COTA, a circuit that's generally not the easiest to go and pass, well, drivers really took that opportunity to move themselves forward, to really improve and take the options to put themselves towards the top. So great stuff nonetheless, as we wait for a couple of our drivers possibly to come through. Let's take a look at some of the highlights of the race as we go and take a look at some great times here in Server 1. This is more of our pro division, having our diamonds, our platinums and golds all together. And we do have our Server 2 that had a great time as well. Awesome racing nonetheless, but it's going to be down to points and calculations. Round 5 done and dusted. Round 6 next weekend, as we will be heading out and having a bit of fun on a very interesting circuit that's going to test out the skills of our drivers. And that's going to be Suzuka during sunset. And that is going to make drivers really work their way through, trying to figure out how they're going to get that little bit of momentum on the run through. Who's going to be able to get the climb, who's going to fall off, and who's going to be able to handle that sun coming into the eyes as they head into the 130R next week. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it looks like we might not going to be able to get anyone to come and have a chat to us here this evening for Server 1. But that being said, we still had some phenomenal racing out there at COTA. It was a great show, and a huge congratulations to all drivers. Well done to Stephen Milano-James taking the overall victory here at the Circuit of Americas, located in Texas. But we also got to give a massive shout out to the likes of our partners, DGSR, AssetoHosting.com, along with the likes of HSR being part of our show, and also IMB Raceware giving us some of the best quality sim racing gear that you can get in the market currently during the entire world. Really recommend going and visiting them. And also, when you go and take a look, let them know that you're coming in from Evolution Racing Academy. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an honor. It's been great stuff. And we're looking forward to seeing you for next week's race. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification icon. Let us know, what was your favorite part of the race? Who do you think is going to take the championship for the platinum, for the gold, and for the diamond? Let us know down in the comments. But thank you to everyone out there in the virtual grandstands. We absolutely love you. You petrol heads make it all happen, and we keep moving forward. So from myself, Stephen Koenig here at the THC Productions, we'd like to say thank you very much. And like always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.